be recording this session. So if you have to drop off early or if you weren't able to make it at all, then you can watch this on our YouTube channel later. Just a little bit about the Zoom webinar that we have going today. We do not have a chat, unfortunately, but we do have a Q&A function. So you should be able to post any questions that you have in there. And then at the end, we'll be able to read those off and get those answered for you. If you want to ask your question out loud, you can do that as well. Just at the end, when we have our Q&A section, you can just hit the raise hand button. That should be on the bottom of your screen off towards the right-hand side. And I will see that you have your hand raised, and I'll be able to unmute your question out loud. Let's see here. What else do I have? So the first 25 registrants for this event did win a friendly vegan cookbook. Those were donated by VegMichigan, so thank you to VegMichigan for that. Those of you who were the first 25 to register, I will shoot you an email early next week about how you can pick up your prizes, but we'll have those for you at City Hall. Also a reminder that we are putting together an 820 holiday recipe booklet that is going to be featuring vegetarian or vegan dishes that feature seasonal ingredients submitted by by members of the community, as well as a few that are submitted by staff in OSI. So if you're interested in submitting a recipe for that, you can do so up until Sunday, the 11th, Sunday. 11 p.m. on Sunday is when that will close. If you're interested in submitting and you don't have the link, you can put it in Q&A that you would like the link, and I can put the answer in there, or just shoot me an email. My email is sreynolds@atgov.org. And then with that, I think we are ready to kick off the cooking demonstration part of the evening. So I will go ahead and introduce our two chefs. So Vicki Brett-Gach is a plant-based culinary instructor, a master certified vegan lifestyle coach, certified personal chef, and the author of the Plant-Based Life Cookbook, Deliciously Simple Recipes to Nourish, Comfort, Energize, and Renew. As a coach, Vicki works remotely with individual clients across the country, often helping them reverse health challenges and chronic conditions, and teaches whole food plant-based cooking classes to groups of all sizes, focused on helping people learn how to make eating healthy. Vicki is the creator of the Ann Arbor Vegan Kitchen blog. Stay connected with her at annarborvegankitchen.com for new recipes as soon as they're published, and for more information about the Plant-Based for Life Cookbook, which was published through Brooklyn Writers Press and is available locally at the BookSuite bookstore, as well as online through Amazon. And then we also have tonight Chef Jeff Tritten. Jeff is a longtime restaurateur and former owner of a barbecue restaurant in Saline, who found his way back to good health by switching from barbecue to plant-based eating. Jeff is an advocate of the Blue Zones lifestyle and is working on a Washtenaw County Blue Zones project through Washtenaw Optimal Wellness, or WOW, while in school full-time for a master's degree in public health. Jeff is a self-proclaimed nutrition nerd and offers nutrition, health, and sustainable living tips and recipes on his Respectful Living blog at arespectfullife.com. For more information about the Blue Zones project and Washtenaw Optimal Wellness, a Michigan domestic nonprofit corporation, you can visit washtenaw.optimalwellness.org. And with that, I believe I'm passing it off to you, Jeff.
All right. Well, I was going to give a shameless plug for Washtenaw Optimal Wellness, but you did it for me. So thank you, Sean. If you guys are interested in learning about the Washtenaw Blue Zones project and staying abreast of what we're doing, please visit washtenaw.optimalwellness.org and sign up for an email. So for today, I have a fun little holiday cranberry fruit salad. Now it's really simple, but one of the things that Americans lack in their diet is fiber, and only 1 in 10 Americans get enough fruits and vegetables in their diet. So I work with seniors and teach seniors about healthy cooking and healthy living. And one of the things that I encourage them to do is to have dessert, but just make that dessert fruit-based. So today I'm going to do this cranberry fruit salad with no refined sugar added to it, and we'll talk a little bit about sweeteners. So let me just get you to my stove, and I'll show you what I have going on here. So the first thing that I have is a pot with 1 cup of water boiling. And I'm going to add just your basic ocean spray cranberries, $1.50 at Walmart or almost $4 at Whole Foods or Bush's. I have about a cup of frozen, or 3/4 of a cup of frozen strawberries that I just let thaw. That's going to go in here too. I'm using some very, very basic Members Mark Members Mark maple syrup. I have about a half a cup of that we're going to add to this. And then I use a lot of cinnamon in my house, not because I like to bake, but I do make a banana oat pancake and a chia French toast. So I use cinnamon quite a bit. So I always have lots of it. And that's just a teaspoon of cinnamon. So I'm going to get this stirring. Get it all stirred in, and we're going to bring this to a boil and let it cook for about 10 minutes. One thing I forgot. So we're going to add a little orange zest to this. So I'm taking and zesting about, maybe a third or so of this orange. So with orange zest, you want it for flavor, but if you use too much, it'll make it bitter. So you need to be careful of that. And we're going to give that about 10 minutes. In the meantime, what I'm going to do is I have an orange already peeled. That'll get chopped up. I have an apple that I'll peel and chop, and both of these in kind of small-ish bite-sized pieces. And your goal is when you take a bite of your fruit salad, you want to get all of the flavors in it, not just a big chunk of apple or a big chunk of orange or just straight up cranberries, because cranberries can be a little tart. And then the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to lightly toast these raw walnuts. Now, I'm just going to do this in my toaster oven, and I'm going to warn you that if you are if you're going to use a toaster oven, you got to watch it, because depending on your toaster oven and the temperature, it's like 3 to 4 minutes, and if you go over 5, you're probably going to blacken them, and you don't want that. You just want them slightly toasted, get that little toasted nut flavor just to top your salad with. So I'm going to let this boil and chop up the rest of my fruit here and toast my walnuts, and I'm going to turn it over to Vicki, and she'll talk about her recipe, and then we'll come back and put this together. So go ahead. It's on to you, Vicki.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. I'm really pleased to be with all of you tonight. So thank you so much for spending time with me in the kitchen as we prepare what I'm going to call a creamy roasted cauliflower pasta. And what I like about this dish is a lot of things, but one of them is that it's quite easy. There's very few ingredients. It's really delicious, and it's something that actually can be sort of flexible. You can add things to it, which I'll mention as I go, some of the ideas that I have about how you can use this, but it's just kind of an elegant yet simple sort of holiday dish, but it's really something you could definitely use any day of the week and really throughout the winter, because we are using ingredients that are very much available at the grocery store all winter long in Michigan. So we're going to start with roasting some cauliflower. So what I did, because that takes about 45 minutes in the oven, is I just did that. I just pulled it out right around 6 o'clock. So I just have warm out of the oven 1 whole head of cauliflower that I trimmed, put into a roasting pan, and actually without anything else, just put it into a 400-degree oven for about 20 minutes. Then I pulled it out and just gave it a little scrape to make sure nothing was sticking. And it starts to brown during that time, but it wasn't all the way tender. So then I add just a little splash of water to just give it a little bit of moisture to start to steam in. put it back into that 400-degree oven for another 20-25 minutes until it's fork tender. So we just want to be able to kind of stick our fork through it so that it's not hard like raw cauliflower would be. And then I just added just a little bit of salt. You can wait, we're going to add some of that to the recipe anyway, but just to kind of give it a little bit of flavor. But you can see that it's all golden and nice and tender and ready for us to use. So while this was roasting in the oven, I did one other thing. And I think sometimes that's kind of the key to getting a recipe on the table, is doing a few things simultaneously. While one thing is, sort of doing its thing, roasting in the oven, you get something else happening so that things can kind of be cooking at the same time. And so that's what I did with an onion. So while I had the cauliflower roasting, I also sauteed an onion. And I've got a golden onion in here, and believe it or not, I actually just sauteed this in water. You could definitely use olive oil or some other kind of thing, of an oil base, if you wanted to, because I know that's always a question. I avoid oil for a couple of different reasons, but one of them is just the extra calories. So I try to just use oil, and water instead of oil. And as you can see, it still gets nice and golden and soft and ready to use in our next step of the recipe. So this took a few minutes while I had this roasting. So now I've got two ingredients ready. They're both warm and they're ready to put into the blender. So now we're just going to do a little bit of assembly as we put all of these ingredients into the blender base together into our Vitamix. So we're going to take a head of cauliflower. Sometimes I do twice this amount so that I can put some whole cauliflower on top as kind of a garnish, but you don't need to. It's just plenty of cauliflower in here to make the creamy sauce. And this could give a template for a different base if you wanted to use this along with butternut squash, for example, or a different vegetable that you might have handy. So we're just taking all of this gorgeous, tender, roasted cauliflower and putting this into our base of our Vitamix here. And then I'm adding to that my onion. So this just smells really great already, because cooked onion always smells great. You could also add a little bit of garlic if you wanted to, which would be great, but this onion gives it lots of flavor. So we're just putting all of this lovely, soft, sauteed onion into the Vitamix. And now just adding a couple more things. And here we go. So now I'm going to add 1 cup of a non-dairy plant milk. I'm using a soy milk that is an organic soy milk made of just soybeans and water. The kind I use is from Trader Joe's when I can find it. It's just literally soybeans and water. So it doesn't have any thickeners or, additional chemicals that really affect the flavor. This is kind of a go-to for me. It's like $1.79, something like that, for a box of that in a separate box. I keep those in my pantry, so I always have 1 or 2, sometimes more, handy so that I can use them in coffee or recipes and things like that. So you don't need to use soy milk. I know some people choose not to. You can use oat milk or almond milk or whatever you like, any kind of plant milk. Just make sure it's a neutral, not a sweetened flavor, not vanilla, something like that. That wouldn't work in here. And then now we're going to add some lemon juice. So about 3 tablespoons of lemon juice, 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast, which gives it a little bit of a kind of a savory, cheesy flavor. And then just a little bit of salt and pepper. So I'm putting in here about 2 teaspoons of salt, which may sound like a lot, but we've got a lot of, this is going to turn into a large recipe. You could leave this out entirely if you wanted to, if you're salt-free or choosing to be low salt. And then I'm adding just a sprinkle of a Cajun seasoning, which is just basically a little chili, salt, pepper, garlic. And now we've got everything we need to create our sauce. So I'm going to put the top on, and just for a moment here, make a little bit of noise. So bear with me. Okay, just that fast, we've got our sauce. So here's what we do. Now it's ready to assemble. So what I did was actually, while everything was roasting and sauteing, was I put together some pasta. So we've got some warm pasta that I've got. This is whole wheat pasta. And if you chose to use a different kind without, if you're gluten-free, or you wanted to use a white pasta or one of the, interesting flavors of the types that are made with lentil or quinoa or something like that, you could certainly do that. So I just made some whole wheat rotini. It's just still steaming hot. As you can see here, steam is coming up. So I'm going to pour some of this into the bowl just to sort of show you how we could serve this. And if you wanted to, instead of pasta, use baked potatoes or a brown rice as a base, or any kind of vegetables like some asparagus or something like that that you wanted to have be your base instead of pasta, you certainly could do that. But I think pasta, I always think of it as kind of a nice holiday celebration kind of food, because it's so comforting and it's such a fun food to have with your loved ones and family. So this is going to be something that we're going to have on our holiday table. So here we go. We've got this creamy, delicious sauce, and it's all ready to just kind of pour over this pasta and create this beautiful creamy sauce. So I'm going to just stir it up just for a moment here to show you how, and then we'll plate it together. So we've got this beautiful dish of pasta and this sauce over it. And I'm going to give it just a little bit of a mix here so that every pasta, most of the pasta is covered. And then, oh, it looks so rich and creamy. So we're just going to put a little bit of this into our bowl, and then I'm going to garnish it with a little bit of parsley. You could put parsley or cilantro on here. And again, if you had some more roasted vegetables, you could definitely put that on top as well. More cauliflower, or maybe some broccoli or asparagus, or anything that you have would be delicious on top. And we'll put a little bit of parsley over that. And we are ready to serve this beautiful cauliflower pasta. Back to you, Jeff.
Thanks, Vicki. That looks delicious.
Thank you. It
Very
is.
nice. All right, guys. So normally what I do with this is cool it after it's cooked before I put the fruit in it. And the reason for that is just so, you don't want to like melt your apples and, just to kind of keep them crisp and that type of thing. So normally I would chill this first, and then I'd add my fruit, mix it in, and let it chill just a little bit longer, maybe 2 hours before serving. And my reasoning for that is that I kind of like to have all of the flavors meld together. You remember we've got maple syrup, cinnamon, and orange zest in here. So you'd want that to just, sit for a little bit in the refrigerator. But for the purposes of our cooking demo today, we're keeping it simple. I'm going to put this in a nice little serving bowl. My walnuts, I almost said almonds, are lightly toasted. So we're going to top that with some toasted walnuts. And you have a healthy salad, or could be served as a dessert here. Which way am I going? So there it is. You can see that's just a nice, beautiful salad type dish. So, and that's it for me. We thought we'd keep it pretty simple today. We had talked about a recipe exchange, and Vicki, maybe you can tell us what some of your favorite recipes are for the holidays.
Sure, and that looks so good, Jeff. I think if we were able to do a potluck, that would be a really nice complement to this nice, rich pasta. It's such a great idea to have fruit as a base for your dessert. You know, pasta is a real family favorite for us around the holidays. So I am planning to make a combination of different pastas over our holiday week, because we have multiple celebrations throughout the week, actually, with different parts of our family. And so this will be one of them for sure. And then we'll have some steamed or roasted vegetables on the side, and a salad, and maybe something like your fresh combination of the cranberry salad as a dessert. We're also going to have another pasta night where I combine kind of my cheese sauce that I use in my mac and cheese and my chili, and kind of combine it into a chili mac and cheese, which we'll do over pasta. And both of those recipes are actually in my cookbook. And we usually like to have vegetables of some sort, you know, something colorful on the plate. Thank you, Jeff. We usually like to have something colorful on our plate along with that pasta, and then, you know, something crispy. So a salad, a green salad, maybe, you know, some crusty bread, and then something sweet for dessert. So it can be something like, you know, some fresh fruit, or maybe a homemade sorbet that starts with a base of fruit. And, you know, those are the kinds of things that we tend to have as well. So yeah, that's kind of a start to our menu. How about you, Jeff?
Well, I'm a soup and stew kind of person for sure, for anything, except for when it's really hot out. And this split pea soup recipe looks really good, Vicki. I just got to tell you, I haven't made it yet, but you notice that was when I grabbed it. It's the first thing on my cookbook counter here.
Thank you.
There are probably 3 go-to recipes for me during the holidays. So I have a garden, and some years we have really good butternut squash, and that butternut squash keeps really well all the way into, you know, February. You would just keep it in the cool, dry storage. So oftentimes what I'll do is make a wild rice pilaf, and I add Michigan dried cherries, like the Montgomery cherries, and maybe some walnuts or almonds in the wild rice with celery and onion and garlic, and maybe I cooked it in vegetable broth so it's got a little bit of flavor. And then cut a butternut squash in half, and I steam it face down in the oven. Actually, I'll show it to you. I use a copper crisper pan for roasting butternut squash. Now you can get these for like $20 at Bed Bath & Beyond, but I can add a little bit of water in the bottom of it and put the butternut squash face down in it and roast it in the oven. And once the squash starts to get real brown on the skin, you pretty much know it's done. Best to, depending on your squash, stick a fork in it and see if it's tender. But then I'll stuff the butternut squash with a wild rice pilaf. Another one, and it's a vegan food blogger that I love, but no, vegan, not necessarily healthy. So I tend to tweak her recipes a little bit to be, you know, less oil and less junk in it. But Connoissaurus Veg, I really like her recipes, and she has a chickpea meatloaf. Well, it's not a meatloaf, chickpea loaf with a maple glaze that is just to die for. So that's a good holiday one for me. And then I also have beans in my garden, and they get harvested throughout the season and blanched and frozen. So I do a green bean casserole, and my green bean casserole is with a soy milk, garlic, salt, pepper. I usually will thicken it with a little bit of arrowroot, and and then I do the French onions just as a crispy topping on it, and that's my green bean casserole. So those are probably my three favorite holiday dishes. And then we bake some pumpkin pie and pumpkin garlic knots and pumpkin bread and pumpkin lattes, and yeah. The pumpkins here in Michigan are amazing, aren't they? So yeah, we do a lot of pumpkin stuff.
Sounds great. One other thing I forgot to mention that we also do is pumpkin. In fact, I may recycle some of my Thanksgiving ideas for our Christmas and New Year's holidays, and one of them was a pumpkin spice chocolate truffle that I have on my website, actually, and it's just a very simple base of free of just walnuts and cocoa and dates all blended together with a little vanilla and not much else, and then rolled in pumpkin pie spice. And it's really lovely and very, very simple, and they're really nice out of the refrigerator or the freezer. And the other thing is what I made actually for our Thanksgiving holiday, I made, again, do throughout the next couple of weeks, and it's a lentil loaf frosted with mashed potatoes. And it's also really lovely. It is a few more steps than this, which is just kind of all blended in one, but it's worth it. So that's another one.
Yeah, I don't know if you know that I saw that recipe and I shared it right before Thanksgiving, because that looks really good. I'm a huge potato fan, so anything potatoes and lentils and lentil loaf, yep, I'm all good with that.
Me too. And those are such perfect foods for this cold weather. So
yeah. Yeah, and I'll mention one more go-to for me that a lot of people don't think about necessarily putting together, but sweet potato and black bean together are amazing. It's a really amazing combination. And so one of my favorite dishes, which is anytime, is to take a little bit of onion and a little bit of zucchini and saute it just slightly. I add black beans, and I get the organic low sodium black beans, and I use a little bit of the slurry from the can, the bean slurry, I guess you call it, and I add a little bit of cumin and a little bit of chili powder to it, and so I mix that in with the zucchini and onions, and I top a sweet potato with that. I've also made that as a casserole, where you take a baking dish and you can do this for a party and line it with cooked sweet potato, and then put that black bean, zucchini, onion layer over the top, and that makes for a real winner. But it's really tasty. It's surprising that just a little bit of spice in the black beans. You don't want to do a lot of cumin and chili powder, and then over the sweet potato. Super easy, super healthy, super satiating. You get filled up so quick on that, and you just feel like you had a nice healthy meal, and you did. You don't need to cook it with any oil. I just water saute like Vicki did with the onions, very low calorie, and yeah, that's a good one too, real easy.
it's a great idea. I love using that combination also, Jeff. And in fact, those are I put beans and just even take a box of spinach or baby greens and just saute that, or kind of wilt it into the hot beans. And now you've got beans and greens over sweet potatoes. And again, it's just super easy, super healthy. And it also makes a great filling for a taco. So
there you
burrito.
Go. Yeah. I did a black bean sweet potato. Is that what it was? Black bean? Yeah, black bean sweet potato lettuce wrap at one time with a little red pepper flake and whatever. And surprisingly, the kids really loved that dish. I don't know. I did it for a cooking demo at a farmer's market, and the kids went nuts over it.
Sounds delicious.
No idea why.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you both so much. The two recipes that were featured tonight will definitely be in our A20 holiday cookbook or booklet. I think it would be great to have a few of those others that you mentioned. So if you don't mind, send me some of those, and we'll put those into the booklet too. We have a few questions and or comments. First, from Andrew Klein, just noting, Jeff, that your music note teaspoon is awesome, which I agree with.
That what is?
The music note teaspoon.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Also a comment from Angie Sullivan saying that she made your pumpkin truffles today, Vicki, and that they were delicious.
Thank you, Angie. I'm glad you're here. Nice to hear that Angie's with us. It's adorable, Jeff.
Yes, those are great. We also have a question from Angie. What are some of your favorite holiday desserts that might be a little more decadent rather than fruit-forward dishes? It is the holidays after all, so a little indulgence is okay, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna jump in and say that pumpkin mousse is probably one that I really like, but I have yet to perfect that. And I really like black bean brownies, but I am not a baker. But I'll tell you that Vicki's got the key on the desserts, so I'm just going to turn it right over to her.
Well, thank you, Jeff. I actually love baking, and I kind of have made a challenge for myself to try to make some things that over the last several years that avoid using any added sugar. So I do use dates and date syrup and, some other ways of sweetening, including bananas and so forth. But I actually have an apple butter cake that I recently did a demo of for VegMichigan, and that is actually on my website. So an apple butter cake is one of the desserts that we have, as well as I have something coming up that is a peppermint chocolate cupcake that's coming soon right before the holidays that I just have been creating a blog about. So I like to create, cookies and cakes and stuff like that. So all the standard stuff, I try to set up a challenge for myself when I'm up for it to try to create a healthy version of something like that. So I've got things on my website for little pumpkin pie bars. So it's kind of a pumpkin pie texture, but it's really kind of a cake bar. And a banana monkey bar, which are just kind of a base that I use a lot for adding other flavors on top of and decorating maybe with, chocolate chips or chocolate sauce, a homemade chocolate sauce. And I definitely make vanilla ice cream a lot around this time of year, as well as really kind of throughout the year lately. But I'm making a vanilla ice cream. And that recipe is on my website also, that does not have any sugar in it at all. It's made with almond milk or soy milk or, a non-dairy milk, and it's sweetened with date syrup. So, and it's really easy, really delicious, but you have to have a way to freeze it and then blend it. So if you've got a Ninja Creamy or you've got an ice cream maker of some sort, that'll work. And if not, you can always kind of work around it by using, freeze the mixture, I guess we'll call it, not a batter, and then put it into a blender or food processor to get it to the right consistency, kind of like soft serve, and then enjoy immediately. So those are a few of them. Thanks for the question, Angie.
I'm going to bring up one more. So if you don't know what this is, you're missing out on life. This is called a Yonanas. And basically you freeze your bananas as they're starting to get too ripe, and you take and do like some banana right down in here and some frozen fruit, and you push it on through, and you keep kind of doing that banana, your strawberry, banana, blueberry, whatever you want to use, and it makes a amazing whole food, plant-based, fruit-based only dessert ice cream that is to die for. It's just a really simple machine. I think you can buy them anywhere. I think I bought about at least 5 or 6 of these, not because they break. Vicki's got one too. Not because they break, but because I give them for gifts all the time and people really like them. Better for the summer, of course, but yeah, it's a fruit ice cream that is amazing.
Yeah, and what's really nice about this is it's very low tech. I think I got mine for about $30 or something like that. And there are all price points for these. Some of them are a little more deluxe and they make a bigger serving, but the basic one works just great. And, it doesn't require a lot of fancy stuff. You're just basically pushing the frozen food through the top, and it comes out like soft serve, unbelievably creamy and delicious. And it all can be, washed in the dishwasher. And it's a perfect way to, end a meal that with something that you won't feel bad about.
Yeah, that's right. And this is basically all there is to it. It spins in here and grinds the fruit up into a sorbet type that's amazing. So yeah, I highly recommend that for dessert. So
I agree.
Great, thank you both. No, I really want ice cream.
yeah, I think I paid $35 on Amazon, and the consensus is that the deluxe ones are not they're not any better. So like Vicki said, get the basic. Yeah, they're like $50 now, actually, now that I got someone telling me over my shoulder.
All right, well, we'll see if you have any other questions, please put them in the Q&A, or as a reminder, you can also raise your hand and ask it out loud. While we wait to see if anyone else has any questions, I'll ask one myself. So we're talking about holiday eating. Obviously, during the holidays, most folks, I think in America, tend to think of, a central dish that's usually meat, a ham or a turkey or something along those lines, and then a whole bunch of sides. And I was just wondering if y'all could talk a little bit about some tips and tricks, maybe for kind of getting your head around moving away from that kind of visioning of a holiday meal into something that doesn't necessarily have that meat center to it. And also kind of talking a little bit about how you can maybe, because during the holidays, it's all about spending time with family. And so how you can kind of approach this sort of subject with family members maybe would be a little bit less eager to move away from that meat centerpiece.
That's a great question. Oh, go ahead, Jeff.
I could, one way to get away from meat products, especially ham, is go watch some PETA videos of animal cruelty. But besides that, if you need to view it for what it really is. And for me, I know that processed meat is a group 1 carcinogen. So ham fits right in there with the bacon. It is processed meat, it's full of nitrates. We know it causes colorectal cancer for certain. So it's unsustainable for the environment. We cannot keep doing this to our planet, or we're not going to have a planet. Just that alone, that destruction that you're contributing to with your dollars is horrific, and it needs to stop. So viewing it what it really is and not caring what other people think. I was a barbecue restaurant owner, and I went vegan in a few months, 5 months, I think. And I tell you, if I can do it, going from grilling brisket and pork shoulder and things like that to being 100% plant-based, you can do it. I'll guarantee it. It's not that difficult. It is about mindset. For me, a lot of it had to do with my health failing. And I'll tell you that I turned around some pretty severe health conditions, moving away from a heavy meat-based diet to a plant-based diet. And when it comes to the environment and the animal cruelty and the fact that we are taking grains that could feed the world and feeding animals instead of hungry children, see it for what it is. There's nothing good about animal agriculture. It destroys our waterways. The harmful algae blooms that we see in Lake Erie almost every year are a direct result of dairy cattle mostly in Adrian, just right down the road from us. A lot of people don't know that. But see animal products for what they really are. They are a sentient being. They are destructive when we're trying to eat them. It is cruel, and it's a waste of resources that could be going to feed the 3.1 million children die every single year from starvation while we feed animals, and the feed to conversion ratio, it's 100 calories a feed to one, well, I think 13 to 27 calories in return in the form of meat or milk. So see it what it is. It's destructive and is unethical, and it needs to change. Go ahead, Vicki.
I was just going to add to that, and that's very well said, Jeff, that in terms of the subtleties of, social interaction, and trying to convince someone that is not already in this place about why they should do it, there's not a single answer I have found about how to do that. Everyone is on their own, journey, and some people put up a barrier and don't want to hear it. Other people really want the information. So my suggestion might be to feel it out and see if you can have the dialogue with your family. And although you may not be able to control everything that anyone in your family or friends do, you can control some of this. You can control what you have on your plate. You can control what you serve. You can control what you have at your gathering if you're the one in charge of it. It becomes a little more complicated if you're bringing a dish to someone else's home that has different views than you. But if you're hosting or in charge of menu building, you can exert your, and you can share why. You can send, as part of your Christmas message, a link to a video or a article. I mean, you can share as much as people are willing to listen. But at a certain point, I have found that we just have to kind of wait for people to become ready. But we can certainly act as a catalyst and an advocate and kind of help encourage sharing that information. But sometimes, people aren't quite ready to listen. A lot of times it'll take their own personal health crisis to be open to it. But I think part of what we do without realizing it is when we're modeling what we believe in, it can translate to, having more and more influence than we might have realized as well. So take little steps and big steps, whatever feels like it's available to you, and just keep pushing ahead.
Yeah, and I think a realistic tip for when you're talking about families is show them the food. And one of the things that VegMichigan and Veg Fund and other organizations do is they just want to introduce people to really good plant-based food. And you go to some of these festivals and restaurants. I mean, gosh, Detroit Street in Ann Arbor is phenomenal. And so, making dishes that are good. I mean, you could bring a salad if you want, but I say knock their socks off. There's so many good recipes out there. Right. And for example, just get Vicki's cookbook. It's available on Amazon. Right.
Thank you, Jeff. And yes, it is. And locally at Book Suite and at Kitchen Lofts, but thank you for saying that. But that is absolutely right. I think that you can, and I know Angie feels this way, and because we've been in gatherings together, bring something delicious to share. And then people, and Jeff, this too firsthand, when you bring something that is delicious to share to people who are not accustomed to eating this way, it goes farther than lots of other tools will to convince people this is good food. And so you can definitely do something like a lentil loaf that is sort of a substitute for something that might seem more familiar, but just making great food, even if it's not, reminiscent of something that they might have thought of as a centerpiece before, can go a long way to help people realize that this is worth exploring and learning more about. And the work you're doing, Sean, I mean, everyone's kind of doing their part to sort of help spread the word.
Yeah, thank you both. And I'll just add on, tag on to that, we like to say it's about progress, not perfection, especially when it comes to sustainable food. And so starting off small, as Vicki and Jeff were suggesting, bringing one plant-based dish 1 year, maybe the next year you bring two, maybe the next year you bring three. and just kind of slowly introducing it. And you don't have to go, okay, this Christmas or this holiday season, we're not going to have any meat at all. You don't have to take that huge step right off the bat. You can start off smaller and work your way up to things like that. All right. In that same topic, we do have a question. What are your vegan recipes that meat eaters are more open to and tend to like the most?
Chili, always chili. That's always a favorite. I do a Michigan cherry chili, and people seem to kind of go nuts over that. But it's a 3-bean chili. No one feels like they're missing anything from it because it's super hearty.
Yeah, and I would say that's right for me as well. Soups and stews, pastas, burritos, potatoes, all of these really hearty comfort foods that people, kind of recognize. And then variations on that make it a little bit more healthy or a little more interesting with some interesting spices or herbs and things like that. Yeah, just kind of playing with it and having fun. And but I think that if you can, start with something that is somewhat familiar, like a pasta dish, and then just kind of turn up the flavor a little bit. People don't think of it as vegan. It's just that it's good food. And so I think that's, we just kind of have to help bring people in and let them try the food. And just like Jeff said, and that goes a long way.
Yeah, so I think Indian and Mexican food are pretty easy to make completely vegan. Indian is normally vegetarian by default, so you can take out the ghee or butter and dairy products out of it with ease, and it's still delicious. If you think about a taco bar, right? What's the only thing that's not vegan on there? It's the cheese and sour cream and perhaps the taco meat. And I actually have an awesome walnut cauliflower taco meat recipe that's 100% plant-based on my blog at arespectfullife.com that people really seem to like. And I make that in a batch and freeze it in portions. And then I have it and I take it out and use it when I do a taco night, right? So I'll cut up the lettuce and I'll put out fresh pico, and sometimes once in a while we'll make a guacamole, and you've got rice and beans and tortillas, just a very typical Mexican fare, and the cauliflower walnut meat, or you can just spice up some beans if you want, and not go through the hassle. Pretty easy to do both of those, and those tend to be ones that people absolutely love.
Great, thank you. And then we have one question here asking a reminder on the name of that sorbet maker that you were talking about, Jeff.
Yonanas. It's kind of like
with a Y.
Bananas with a Y-O at the beginning. Yonanas. And that's the symbol on it.
Great.
Oh, here we go. It says it. Let's see if I can get this there.
There we are.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. All right. Well, I'm not seeing any more questions or raised hands. So I guess we will give folks back about 8 or 9 minutes of their night. But thank you both so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. I'm really excited for my own dinner that is being made in the kitchen a room away right now. So,
and Vicki, you're going to bring that pasta over now, right?
Yeah, I'm on my way.
Awesome.
Thanks, Sean, for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us, Sean. Very nice to be with you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Happy holidays,
thank everyone
everyone.
for joining. Yes.
I hope everyone has a great holiday season.
All right. Good night, everyone.